Cutters, Degrassi, Unpopular Opinions. Hey there, It's Jeff Cutter Diamond welcoming you to another Degrassi Unpopular Opinion / hot take. So, there was this YouTube video coming up recently that said that MsMojos, an extension of Watch Mojo, said the top 10 Degrassi storylines that went unresolved. And so basically, the YouTube post link was posted. Well, I posted the YouTube link to and all that. I should have said, what do you think about this whole situation? So I'm going to give you my take, my unpopular opinion. Some of them will fall into the unpopular opinion vacuum, but I'm going to give you my take on everything. So MsMojo put number 10 was Paige's STD scare. Okay, so here's the context. Paige is in college, and she meets a boy named Griffin, and she falls in love with Griffin. And basically, Griffin is a nice person. But the fact of the matter is, Griffin did not disclose he had HIV/AIDS. So he basically lies to Paige, and Paige has to go get tested if she has HIV. And of course, a lot of people were saying, why did Paige lie? But Griffin. But it was not resolved. That's true. It wasn't resolved. But here's how I think it happened. Paige was fine because I think if Paige had HIV, they would have said it on the show, even though they put Paige's character to assassination in Degrassi Ghosts Hollywood. All right. Number 9 was Emma's STD scare, of course, from Secret. And Emma, was withdrawn about the Rick Murray situation. She wasn't fine. She wasn't herself. People were shocked. And then all of a sudden she decides to take an invitation from Jay to the ravine to perform sexual acts. And, Emma is forced to give Jay a blowjob. And then all of a sudden, after Alex and Amy have issues, well, Alex has gonorrhea thanks to Jay. And there's a talk about gonorrhea. Everyone assumes Emma has it because she was with Jay in the ravine. But the fact of the matter, and then Emma feels terrible, and then Emma decides to ask Snake and Spike to go to the clinic and all that, thinking she has it. Now, of course, it was not resolved if she had the STD or not. And I would have loved to see if she mentioned saying, "Oh, she survived and she didn't have gonorrhea." We're left to assume she did have gonorrhea, and I think she did. Then she took medication. She was fine. And then, Emma bounced back in a sense. I think in a sense that, she had the STD. And it actually made her think that maybe her old way of thinking was terrible. Or even the zombie Emma phase was terrible. Anyway, number 8 was about Perino against Derek and Denny. Perino treating Derek and Denny like trash. Like, Perino was a tough teacher, and he lightened up in later seasons. Perino was introduced in season 3, and he lasted to the bitter end. One of the longest reigns of a teacher. The only guy who's ahead of him is Armstrong. Disclaimer, Snake was a teacher at first, but then he became principal. So that's why not. So anyway, Perino seemed to be a bully. Like one tiny little incident that Dirk and Danny accidentally goofed off and made Perino spill his coffee, and then Perino decides to blast them. But of course, Perino looks over his shoulder because Simpson wants to get involved in this. Perino threatens Derek at the bus stop, basically saying that, don't ever come near me again. I'll make your life a living hell, and all that. So, Derek finally speaks up, talks to Hatzelackos and Simpson, and Perino allegedly escapes without punishment. That's what we're left to believe. But here's how I take it. Perino was in trouble. If you look at the Degrassi wiki and his appearances in season 6, there was a big drop-off from after that episode, Crazy Little Thing Called Love, and his next appearance. My theory is that Perino did get suspended. He did have to take time off. Hatzelackos forced Perino to change, or else she would really get on his nerves. But I think that, and people will say, well, Dirk deserves it because of how terrible he is. But let's not forget, this is Dirk season 6. This is not season 8, when he was asshole to Jay on the football team, which is also what Miss Mojo ran. But but this was when Derek was likable and did not hurt Danny or anyone else. So, but if this was in Derek's asshole face, then yeah, he deserves it. But no, he didn't deserve that. Number 7 is Alex's supposed turnaround. Basically, season 5 and 6 was about Alex trying to change her life around. Well, being with Paige in season 5 inspired her to go back to school to be a physiologist or something, physiotherapist. But basically, she wanted to get her grades up. She wanted to turn her life around and with Paige. But unfortunately, the Paige Alex dynamic was not perfect because, Paige was upper class and Alex was lower class. And Alex let old habits not die hard. And they say that Alex was never mentioned again. I mean, she did talk about going to Ajax and being with her family and all that. Usually, if someone like leaves for another city and all that, they never come back. Well, Sean is one of the exceptions, but the fact is that, what I think about it, yeah, like Alex just let herself get in her own way. Like she had old habits die hard, but yeah, old habits die hard. Number 6 was Claire's cancer, about Claire having cancer. What was it, season 12 or something? And then she has to take treatments. She had a lump on her back, and she was scared and all that. And that there was no resolution to Claire's cancer thing. Kind of was that Claire beat cancer and got her magazine job, which was also on the list. But the fact about Claire is that they didn't say, well, Claire beat cancer. What else? Does she have any repercussions or lingering effects? Well, that's probably what I would have thought of that with Snake's leukemia in season 3, if memory serves me right. But the fact of the matter for Claire is that, the cancer may have had an impact on why she lost her baby. Because I don't know much, but women having cancer, sometimes they can have kids, and sometimes the cancer makes them infertile. But the fact is that the cancer just was like ugly. And that Claire never got her happy ending. Well, I'm gonna go right into the Claire and Asher thing. No, sorry. Yeah. Claire and Asher was number 4. I'm gonna skip number 5 for now. But anyway, number 4 was Claire and Asher. About Claire being harassed by Asher and how she lost her job because Asher lied. But then Claire manages to get a former colleague to help her, and she gets Asher, and they basically said that Asher had faced no repercussions. But, he probably went to jail and all that. It's kind of the whole situation with Drake Lampley, the redhead who stabbed JT in season 6. It's like nobody knows what happened to Drake. After that, he gets a brief passing in If You Leave. That's the episode in which Emma goes off the rails about her emotions about JT stabbing, even though she didn't really have feelings for JT, other than the fact that JT died at an event that she should not have thrown, and she probably felt guilty about it and didn't want to hurt his grandmother. But the fact of the matter is that, yeah, we didn't know about Drake. Johnny DeMarco was a co-conspirator, but Johnny said that he was sickened by how he was an accessory to death and all that. And I bet Johnny basically spilled some guts about the situation and got Drake into a whole lot of trouble. Even Nick. I think Nick might have gotten in trouble for conspiracy if he had anything to do with it. So yeah. Okay, so number 5 was Jane on the football team. So in season 8, the Shep becomes principal when Hatzelackles go to Regina. The Shep was supposedly the principal for Lakehurst. And of course that burnt in season 7. But the fact of the matter is that he decides to put a football team on Degrassi for the first time. And Jane wants to be on the team. She played rugby. She knows what to do. And Shep is a little too concerning. But what gets me pissed off about Shep is that he's the coach of the football team. How can he be the coach of the football team and principal too? Isn't that not good? Principals might get involved in clubs, but to be the coach of the football team? You couldn't find Armstrong? You couldn't find someone else? That's kind of stupid. That gets me more than anything. So yeah, so Jane's on the football team and she gets harassed by Danny, Derek, and a lot of people, and Shep doesn't really protect her. And then finally, I think Jane becomes a hero, and Shep finally turns his tone, but only when they're winning. Sing when you're winning. That's the philosophy. But yeah, that was just pure patheticness on everyone's account. But yeah, but Jane made it through. But one storyline they should have said about storylines not being resolved was Lucas, and Jane finally finding why she hated her dad because her dad sexually molested her, and finally Lucas woke up to the fact that her dad, because their dad was molesting. Well, Lucas was in the other room, ignorant. Not really ignorant, but he didn't know. And then Lucas finally decides to confront his dad, doesn't want him in his life, and basically apologizes for not helping Jane out. And Jane basically said, "We're kids, and you're here now." And then the next episode, he disappears. Like, honestly, the disappearing act in Degrassi actually was on the list too. But anyway, Jane on the football team. Yeah, Lucas disappearing was one thing. Okay, so number 3 is Jonah's baby. Because in season 14, when Jonah was with Grace, all of a sudden, out of the blue, Jonah said that he has a daughter with a girlfriend that he can't really see. And it's like, okay, passing mentions. I think there was a passing mention in Degrassi that Manny had a brother. I think there was like other family things that we didn't know about. So I don't really have too much to say about that. Number 2 was Esme's mental health, and said it wasn't resolved. Well, Esme had issues, especially in next class. And then, she goes off on the rails, hurts Sig at the prom, and then does not want Sig to be anywhere near Maya. Mostly because, Esme helped Maya survive in season 3 of next class because of Maya's depression / suicide attempt. And then Esme was upset that Sig was gravitating towards Maya, and people were gravitating towards Maya because Esme thought she would be well loved because she was a hero for saving Maya, but they just gravitated towards Maya, and then Esme wanted to destroy Maya and Sig for that matter. So yeah, they said that they should have talked about Esme's mental health. Well, the show freaking ended. Next class ended on that episode. I don't know if they're going to address it in the Degrassi reboot that's shooting this summer. Next year, it'll be back on the air. And, it's going to be hour-long episodes. It's going to be more home life stuff. I don't know how they're going to work this scenario in and how many ex-Degrassi stars are going to come back. And maybe we'll know about Esme's mental health. Maybe we'll know about Jack Simpson. But yeah, it ended because of the show ending. It's 18-year season thing. I mean, I think they definitely would have gotten Esme's mental health. They would have diagnosed her. They would have given her the help she needed. And, she was like Jack Simpson. And number 1 was all the disappearing acts of the characters. Hazel, Terry, Kendra, Dave, and Wesley, among others they name dropped. So Hazel, was one of Paige's sidekicks. And she got herself into hot water in season 2, being the fashion police, giving Farisa, the girl from Iraq, a fashion ticket and insulting Iraq, saying that Jamaica will bomb Iraq, even though Farisa says Ardennes is a Somalian name. International Day, there's a problem. Hazel is accused of defacing Farisa's presentation on International Day, but it was found out that two older boys did it, and Hazel's let loose, but Raj says that words hurt, and Hazel decides to help Farisa with her project. And Hazel says that she is Somalian and got abused by some girls. And then Farisa says, and nothing changed. Huh? So Hazel decides to tell everyone she's Somalian in the media class, and basically they accept her. Good. But then, Hazel becomes Jimmy's girlfriend by season 3. They spent time in that detention room and got to know each other. And for some strange reason, she disappeared after season 5. She breaks off with Jimmy because Jimmy's emotionally cheating on her with Ellie. And then no explanation about how Hazel did afterwards. And then, of course, Terry, season 3, she was in the relationship with Rick, and then she had her head smashed on a rock by accident by Rick. Rick went through a lot in the aftermath. Terry was featured in a few episodes at the end of season 3 after what happened. And then by season 4, she's gone. No one even mentions it. She's apparently gone, and the stupid deleted scene said that she was at a private school, according to Radich. And of course, that starts the whole thing about why Rick was back at Degrassi when he hurt Terry. But the simple fact is that, Rick didn't have a criminal charge on him. And Radish, I think, had to let him back in. I feel like the school board kind of forced Radish's hand. But it seemed that Radish was just being selfish in a sense. But yeah, Terry left season 4. She said that the producers wanted her gone. That pissed me off. And it also pisses me off because, Christina Schmidt, the actress who played Terry, who's 2 years younger than I am, if you must know, actually went to the same high school as I did, Waterloo Oxford District Secondary School in Baden, Ontario, Canada. I had to say Canada because, they're American watchers. But yeah, but she won't know who I was or am. Anyway, Kendra was the biggest storyline with the black hole. The black hole basically started with Kendra in a sense. Kendra was Toby's girlfriend. Toby wanted to be with a girl, but he kept smothering her. Kendra says, lay off Toby. But in a sense, Toby wanted to stay with Kendra because he was worried that, no other girl will like him. And, he was on the heels of his parents divorcing. He just didn't want Kendra to break up with him. But Kendra didn't. Kendra and Toby off screen broke up in season 4, and they mentioned it in the season 4 premiere about how Liberty, Emma, and Toby all lost boyfriend/girlfriends. Anywho, so Kendra was Chinese, and she was actually a good representation of the diversity. And then all of a sudden, after season 4, poof, she's gone. Nary a trace. Now, at first, people said that, there was a storyline between her and Toby about sex and all that, and that the actress's parents pulled her out. But then last year, we actually learned that one of the producers, I guess from CTV, said that they didn't think Kendra would be a good fit, so they got rid of her. Like, honestly, geez. And everyone says Americans are known for being angry with that and take offense over nothing. Yes, Canada's just as bad. And then you got Dave and Wesley from the second iteration, like the Degrassi 10 to 14 era. Like, they were decent characters, but, Dave was a good guy. And the weird thing is, Jamil French passed away last year. So, that's kind of sad and all that. Yeah, it's like a Degrassi black hole. I even did some stuff on the top Degrassi black hole characters. And there's even the Degrassi black hole post on Degrassi Wiki that you should look at. So that's basically how I feel about the top 10 list. I liked it, but it could have been better. Anyway, thanks for watching.